Hi, I'm Sarah from Floral, and today I'm going to show you guys how to make a beautiful arrangement that's perfect for putting on arches or really anywhere where you need something stunning and large like this. So keep watching my video and I'll show you exactly how to do it. So for supplies here today, I've got on the wall here an Oasis foam cage. If you don't have this particular product, you can make your own using chicken wire, or you could also take an Oasis brick and cover it in chicken wire. But this is kind of nice because it's just encased within a cage itself. I've pre-soaked this in water and I let it sit for a little bit because otherwise the water that's excess kind of streams down your wall. So make sure you let it sit for about an hour before you start actually using it. For flowers, I've got quite a selection of flowers here, and I haven't decided yet what I'm going to use, so we'll see what I use of this table. So I've got Genestra at the end, then I've got some purple Statice, I've got this purpley pink Waxflower, some hot pink roses, I've got these medium violety purple Carnations, tiny bit of baby's breath, and I've got some Parvifolia Eucalyptus. So like in any arrangement, you're going to start by greening it out. So I'm going to start with using some of my baby's breath to add some dimension and some length to this arrangement. I've just got a little bit of baby's breath today, and I'm going to take my pruners, always giving things a fresh snip to make sure they're easily uptaking water, and I'm going to just insert it into my Oasis form. This form is kind of cool because it is three-dimensional and kind of extends out like a cone. So that way I can get some really cool space and extension out of my arrangements. I'm going to be using my baby's breath for the filler. And then I'm also going to be using my Genestra. So I'm just placing this baby's breath kind of in a circular fashion. It looks really funny so far, but that is always how things look when you're starting flower arranging, is it takes a little bit for sort of your shape and your vision to take its form. So in the in-between, you might be doubting your arrangement, you might be doubting all your life choices in general, but just keep going because things that are halfway done generally look halfway done. Okay, let's pull in some Genestra. So this stuff has some crazy length, and I don't know that I necessarily want that much length, so I'm going to cut it down a tiny bit, and I'm also going to pull off some of these end pieces because the end sort of stragglers there will impede the movement of the foam and not allow it to really be inserted in. So here we go. Let's go here with the Genestra so you can see water's dripping. I didn't let it soak or let it drain for long enough. So don't be like me. I only let it drain for like half an hour. So yeah, let it drain for maybe an hour. And I want to do something that's at an angle here. So I'm going to take this piece of Genestra and I'm going to pull it out on this side. And it has a big chunk here of the stem, so you can see if I insert it, it's going to come out the other side. So that's giving me a clue here that I need to cut this a little bit shorter just so I don't have that happen. So here we go. Water comes inserting out. It actually did come out the other side, so I didn't cut it short enough. So I'm going to do that right now. Just give it a little bit of a haircut here and pull it out a bit so that way it can get water access there. So I've got kind of my extension pieces here from the Genestra. It's unsure at this moment whether I want to add more Genestra, so I'm just going to leave it and then just start adding in my other elements and see how I feel about it as I go along. Hot pink roses. I'm going to add a few of these, and so my length on them, I'm leaving them really long because I'm trying to go for a really elevated long feel here. So adding in my roses, I'm going to do a couple different lengths of roses so that way they are staggered. And I'm going to do 3 each side. I'll add this one over here. Sometimes you have to give it a little, whoa, that really went through. Jeez. Sometimes you have to push it through quite hard to make it through the foam. Not a bad idea to have a towel underneath to catch all the water that's going to inevitably come through if you don't let it soak or drain enough. Let's add in my third rose here. So I've got kind of this staggered look coming here, adding in my third one. There we go. Need to cut this off here. And stems go flying sometimes. That's part of the process. So I've got 3 roses up here. I'm going to mimic it at the bottom there as well. Okay, 3 roses and 3 roses. So it's still looking quite sparse. So now I'm going to use some of my smaller elements like this Waxflower to fill in that empty space, because I've got a lot of space that just doesn't have anything filling it in. So let's add in some Waxflower throughout this to fill in the space. Like I always say, pull off the bottom pieces because we need a nice clean stem to insert. I would keep those pieces though, because those are perfect for using in your boutonnieres. Like even this piece here, I'm gonna cut it short. Make sure you don't cut your fingers. That would be terrible if I did that in front of you guys. So this piece here, I can pull off these side nubbies, and that'll be super cute to use in my boutonniere. Got a couple pieces of Waxflower here. So you can see it's starting to take shape with the different textures that are spilling out from this center axis. I'm gonna have to obviously do something about this front not having anything, but I like to do kind of my draping sides first and then come back and fill in the center of it. Bring in Statice. So Statice, like this guy here, has a lot of different branches to it, and I don't necessarily want that much Statice at once, so I'm just going to pull off one of the side guys just so that way I have a more reasonable, what I deem to be reasonable, amount of Statice that I can insert into my foam. And it's nice to have the different Statice in different spots. So I'm having a little piece here. This one's still pretty big, so I'm going to take off this little side guy here. I'm going to keep it for later, probably in my middle here. And that way I have another one here that's little. If you haven't already taken note of this, you'll see that I'm trying to do different elevations. So we have some long, some really long, and then I'm slowly starting to build it back shorter and shorter. This one, not happy with how long it is. I'm gonna give it a haircut and come back again with it a little bit shorter. Let's add in some carnations. Make sure you watch my video on how to open up carnations if you're going to be using them in your arrangements, because carnations have a tendency to be really closed bud, and so they need a little bit of massaging, if you will, to get them to actually really open up the way you'll want them to appear in your arrangements. Okay. If you are wondering how I'm holding up this arrangement, I'm actually using command hooks on my wall. And you could also use zap straps to then attach them to the command hooks. Zap straps are also known as cable ties, and I just picked them up actually from the dollar store, and they are a key item to have in your floral toolkit. You are 100% going to want to have those when you're doing DIY flower arranging. Right, so now I've kind of entered the halfway point. Hopefully you guys can sort of see my vision coming to life here. I've got a decent amount of floral coverage here, but I still have obviously the gaps, and this in the middle here is quite empty. So I think I'm going to use some Waxflower to do a little bit of coverage on my front. I'm cutting it quite short, and I'm going to just kind of plop it right there in the middle of my cylinder to give the coverage that I need coming from the center. I'm kind of staggering my Waxflower here, pointing out in every direction because I want to have that really cool shape. I still haven't pulled in my Parvifolia. I'm not convinced yet that I need it, but time will tell whether I decide that that becomes a piece to bring in. My Statice now I've cut into some smaller chunks. nestling that in my arrangement. And now at this point, it just becomes a matter of playing around with your arrangement and just seeing where any holes are that exist. And this is kind of the fun part. This is where you get to finish it out the way you want it and see where things look best. Look how cool that carnation looks in there. I think I actually broke it. I did break it. Sometimes you break things, and yeah, sometimes that's life. I think I can still use it. I've got a bit of a stem there. Let's shove that in there. Yeah, I solved that. I'm going to use another carnation, cut short. If you're wondering what I'm doing here with the petals, I'm just opening the carnations up because they're a little bit close bud. Let's add this guy up here. Okay, to spare you guys the boredom, I'm just gonna stop talking and fill in this, taking sometimes a bit of a step back to make sure that I'm looking at it from all of my angles. So I'm just gonna keep doing that for a little bit and filling this guy up. I think it is time to add in a bit of Parv. Parv has really big branches, and like obviously this would be a lot of Parv. Maybe that's not obvious. I do not want this much Parv. So I'm going to take some of the side shoots and just cut them off. And then I'm going to use those sparingly throughout my arrangement. And like all the other ones that have sort of leaves on the bottom, I have to clear that off to make sure I have a nice clean stem to insert into my foam. And then let's add that in throughout in a couple different spots. Oh, I love that. It just adds another sort of dimension, like it's springing kind of out from that Waxflower. Let's kind of tuck it behind so it gives that really nice dimension that I keep talking about here. So let's just add a little bit more of this Parv throughout, and then we'll take another assessment of what this arrangement needs or doesn't need. So I'm at the part now where I am 99% done. So this is the part where it's a good idea to just go have a nap, have a cup of coffee, just leave it, and then come back when you have a fresh set of eyes and take a look at what do you need to adjust to it. Sometimes it's hard to tell when you're right in front of it and you get so emotionally invested in it. So I'm going to take my own advice. I'm going to step back and take a look at what do I need to add or change, or maybe not. Maybe I've done it perfectly. So I stepped back, took a look, and I think that I am in love with this. No, I don't think I'm in love with this. I know I am in love with this. This is a gorgeous arrangement that'd be perfect on an arch, or maybe put it on a bar, like kind of hanging off the edge. I don't know. You could really do anything with it. Because it's in floral foam, it has a hydration source. So if you make this the day before, it's totally going to last because it's got that floral foam that gives it the water. So hopefully you guys enjoyed learning how to make one of these and you learned a thing or two. Very important to put a towel underneath your Oasis so that way the water doesn't leak everywhere. Don't worry, once you have it up, it will have, the flowers will have soaked up that water, so you're not going to have that water pouring, but when you first make it, you might have that issue. So learn a thing or two from me, and thanks for watching.